Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a random Thursday night at 7 p.m. live stream. We are still going to be going live at 10 p.m. as well with the usual stream, but we've got a special one here for you that is going to lead into a big stream from Jay and Shannon. But yeah, thanks everyone for being here, and I'm joined by none other than my brother Dan.
What's up, people?
What's up, dude? What are you doing, man?
Yeah, so we saw an interesting video last night. We decided we wanted to cover it a little bit. Plus the Alibi stuff came out, and we kind of wanted to combine that so that we could fill the hour.
Yeah, there's some new stuff that literally just dropped. And shout out to Mandy, Queen Mod, who got knighted today over on Jay's stream. New mod over there as well.
Oh,
she
nice.
sent me some more stuff that's coming out tonight we're going to look over. So yeah.
Dude, now she's she was already Queen Mod, but she's everywhere now.
Doing the damn thing.
Modding every channel.
Thank you everyone. Yeah, Dan rocking a nice shirt there, bro. Show that thing off.
Oh yeah. Which way do I need to go?
Yeah.
Chester shirt.
That is a really nice shirt. Yeah, everyone, as you randomly come through here tonight, we appreciate it. Please like the stream, helps us out in the algorithm. If you're not subbed up, please do that. Please click subscribe and hit the three little dots on the side and make sure all notifications are turned on so you don't miss anything. You don't miss any live streams like a random one like this, huh? Random at 7 o'clock. This is not a normal time frame for us, but you never know. And then share this out to your community. Share this out to Twitter. Share this out to Facebook. Let people know what you're watching, that you're hanging out with Publicly Buzzed tonight.
Something I didn't do, but
yeah, get it in there, baby, get it in there. Everyone in the chat, thank y'all so much. Everybody hanging out, and yeah, we're preparing right now for a badass stream from Jay tonight. Actually, I've got that up here. I just want to go ahead and show that off. Happening immediately after this, and there's a portal that is going to direct every single person immediately to that stream. I believe as long as you're on. I don't know if it works on phones. I've heard that it might not work on phones like that, but if you get sucked in the portal, that's where you're going to end up. But it's going to be badass, and we're excited about that. But yeah, we're going to be going over. First, we're going to jump out the gate with the, not today's, this was from a couple of days ago, the notice of the defendant's response. This is the response to the state's alibi. Yeah, Dan, I know that you wanted to look through some of this, and I watched today, what was her name? Harvard lawyer Lee.
yeah, she's awesome.
She did a great breakdown of this, and then after I knew that we were actually going to be going into this and kind of, because I'd seen a couple of different videos being made, a couple of different posts being made, and they make sense, but I mean,
she's so good at explaining
she's
stuff.
Fucking good, bro. She breaks it down for an idiot like me, quite frankly.
She's very good at explaining. I mean, to be fair, the lawyer, he's pretty good at it too.
He's great. He is great.
She and Andrea as well.
Yeah, Andrea Burkhart's amazing as well.
But I don't know. I've heard that there's something about
I'm actually
Harvard lawyer Lee that really she really just makes it make sense. Like she gives you examples, and
I'm gonna put her video in the link here, guys, as well, just so you can go check her out. Also, please give her a follow. She's a big channel. She is massive. She has 100,000 subs.
Yep.
So she's fucking awesome. And I don't see anybody ever talking about this lady either. So yeah, go show her some love and tell her Publicly Buzzed sent you as well. She'd probably enjoy that. But yeah, I know that you particularly want to go over a few of the things in this, Dan, and then we're going to go over the next part together here.
yeah, so the alibi thing. I tweeted it out, and kind of my thoughts on it already. But it sounds like, I mean, what do we want to do? Do we want to kind of read it and go through it as we read it, or
Yeah, we could do that.
give thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll kind of start. I'll skip this first part here. Mr. Kohberger notes that Idaho code. That's right. Did we get the Idaho code pulled up?
I can pull it up right now, I think.
Get that to me and send that to me. I do want to pull that up because this 19-519 is very interesting. The actual law, and this law that Dan is finding right now, preserves his constitutional right to silence as well as to testify on his own behalf. So I see a lot of people saying, it's very probable that Bryan Kohberger could actually testify in this trial. And that's how they could establish an alibi, is how I'm kind of understanding this right now currently. Mr. Kohberger stands firm on his constitutional right as well as the statutory recognition of the right. Noteworthy is that an alibi indicates a line of proof by which the defendant attempts to show that he could not have committed the crime of which he is accused because he was elsewhere at the time. Again, that's what a fucking alibi is. A defendant's denial of the charges against, again, referencing another law here, a defendant's denial of the charges against him does not constitute an alibi, but as soon as he offers evidence that he was at some place other than where the crime of which he is charged was committed, he is raising the alibi defense. Mr. Kohberger's defense team continues investigating and preparing his case. And again, this whole thing was about an alibi. You would expect to be seeing something along the lines of, hey, you should contact this person, or this is where I was at, or there's proof here. We're not really getting that. Instead, we're getting evidence corroborating Mr. Kohberger being at a location other than King Road. Address will be disclosed pursuant to discovery and evidentiary rules as well as statutory requirements. It is anticipated this evidence may be offered by way of cross-examination of witness produced by the state. So, and I said,
I found it.
No,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, so I found it interesting that they say that so right there it says evidence corroborating Mr. Kohberger being in a location other than the King Road address will be disclosed pursuant to discovery and evidentiary rules as well as statutory requirements. Will be being key there, making it sound like we know that this is going to happen. We know that in the future there will be evidence and discovery that proves he was somewhere else. And then the very next sentence says it is anticipated this evidence may be offered as a way of by the way of cross-examination of witnesses produced by the state. So it sounds like they know that there's something there that may put him somewhere else. And my speculation here is the cell phone ping data. They're going to challenge that, and that's it will be right. They're going to challenge the cell phone ping data. They're probably going to try to challenge the vehicle stuff,
because all they can really do is cast doubt on the situation
exactly.
at hand, right? Like,
yeah,
that's kind of what it looks like they're going for, anyways. Because they can't. They would have, if they could have proven, if Bryan Kohberger could have proven he was somewhere else by now, they would be showing it already, or definitely right now.
That's the thing. So, and Harvard lawyer Lee gives a good example. So, if any one of us were to be charged with a crime, and we were at home sleeping during the event of that crime, and we lived alone, there would be no person to corroborate our alibi, right? And if Stevie, you want to pop over to that section 19.519, basically the alibi is you need somebody to corroborate. You need a witness to vouch for your alibi, which Kohberger doesn't have. And to be fair to Bryan Kohberger, if he lived alone, which he did, and he was at home asleep at the time, then it's not an alibi if nobody can verify that, right? So they really don't have an alibi to present. And I mean, we kind of know that he was out driving around at that time based on the cell phone data. His cell phone was pinging different towers, moving around. So it's unlikely that he was at home asleep, but he could. I mean, his alibi could be that he was just taking a cruise.
That's what I said earlier. His real, at least as of right now, to us looking in or looking out or looking in, however you want to say that, his only real alibi is to say, "Hey, I was driving all morning long. I was just out cruising around." Which, they're going to be arguing, this is an unusual thing. Did you do this often? But I guess the argument to that is, I mean, if I'm doing it alone every night, there's no alibi. There's nobody there to watch it.
Yeah, there's nobody to corroborate.
In real time, you'd have to you'd have to. There's got to be cameras that would see him leaving his apartments, and then they would literally backtrack from there. And if that's not true, if he's not out randomly driving, that's already bullshit, which is probably not the case.
And I mean, there's the argument too that this was just a spontaneous thing that happened. He doesn't do it all the time, but he just this night decided that he wanted to go take a drive around.
Most unlucky drive of all time.
It would be, but it's possible. That's key. That's doubt.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and that is ultimately what the defense is going to be riding on right now, is all this fucking doubt.
Yep.
Which is wild.
But and there is a pretty exceptional amount of doubt. We don't know. We don't. This is the guys. We have to keep in mind. We have to see everything. We don't have all the information. At the moment, there is doubt, but that doesn't mean there's going to be doubt when the prosecution actually presents their case. We have to stay open-minded on that.
Yeah, and even in this right here, the law that's actually stating, this judge gave them more time than allotted out the gate. From
it was like a 2-month extension. Yeah,
when he was officially indicted, they had 10 days, and then they asked for more time.
It was 10 days from the
arraignment.
No, 10 days. You're talking about the alibi.
Yeah.
No, it's 10 days from the prosecution demanding the.
Okay,
the
gotcha. Oh, yeah,
so
it actually says it right here. Written demand of the prosecutor.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, of the prosecuting attorney to the defendant shall serve, and again within 10 days. Sorry about that. I totally misspoke on that part. But yeah, after they allotted them a whole lot more time than that to get this all together, and then they come and present this.
Yep.
So,
which is nothing.
Literally
there is
nothing.
no alibi.
Literally
there is
nothing.
no alibi.
Yeah.
There's, and then again, you have to really look at that verbiage where the defense says, where Kohberger and his defense say, they believe that it will be presented at some point in the future, something corroborating that he was not at the King Road residence. Again, likely to be them just fighting the cell phone peak stuff, the vehicle stuff, the camera. I mean, that could be weak or that could be strong. At the moment, it actually seems weak, in my opinion. I mean, when you look at the car stuff, like we know that they have vehicle footage plus cell phone ping stuff, right? And when you put those together, it builds a stronger case. If you look at the cell phone ping stuff, that's pretty unreliable. They even make it unreliable. This has been mentioned so many times before. They even make it sound unreliable in the PCA itself. So I don't know. I think as we know it right now, I think the defense does have the ability to poke holes, but they could have more. They could have more accurate cell phone data than what we know about. All we know is what the PCA had. That PCA was written before he was arrested. They had his cell phone in custody. I mean, they could have far more accurate data at this point. So we just have to wait and see on that.
Right here, I just want to bring this up. Casey, who says being home alone is not an alibi. And honestly, that's scary as fuck. If you're alone at any time and there's a crime that you're being possibly implemented into, man. The Y files I watched today, dude, had that very thing. Dude basically didn't have a fucking alibi for the time period, and he did a lot of time, and it seems like he was an innocent man. And that shit probably happens way more often than, I'm not going to say way more often than not, because that's definitely not true, but more often than you would like to believe. Let's say that.
I mean, you want to have an alibi if you're being prosecuted for something.
There's
not always a guarantee you're going to have one.
That's a reason right there for a significant other. Everyone,
yeah.
I was with my wife. I was with my lady. I don't know what you're talking about.
At least you have somebody.
Debbie coming through here right now at the $2. Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that. Get you with it. Oh, hold on. Let me make sure that's up.
Give me the loop. Give me the loop.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Debbie.
I also want to point out the verbiage in this document. So if we go back to the response, the verbiage in this document does not mean. So if we look at the part where it says he retains the right to take the stand, I think it's above this paragraph, maybe.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So Mr. Kohberger knows that he preserves the constitutional right to silence as well as to testify on his own behalf. Just because that verbiage is in this document does not mean he's going to testify. We don't need to start saying, "Oh, Kohberger's going to take the stand. He's going to testify." That doesn't guarantee that. They're just saying that he reserves the right, and based on the Idaho law, that 19-519, that states that even if he doesn't present an alibi now, he could present an alibi on the stand if he so chose. Him not presenting an alibi does not prevent him from being able to take the stand if he so chose.
And earlier I mentioned this to Dan, the one thing that I was kind of putting this to, not necessarily him being on the stand, but, earlier on, what were they kind of mentioning for him? The exculpatory evidence, which was going to be Bethany Funk was going to be able to give that, right? Provide that. Mm-hmm. Like, in the long run of this, are they going to want to get her on the stand to be able to provide a possible or potential alibi? Is that what they're getting at here?
Yeah, I wonder if
that seems like a weird way to go about it.
Yeah,
with these motions, right?
Like, the only thing I could think of, like, what would have happened? Would she have seen him in the house, or would she have seen the perpetrator in the house? And she can describe someone that's not Bryan Kohberger? Is that potentially the exculpatory? Like, is that because if she knew for a fact, like, let's just hypothetically say that she knew Bryan Kohberger, and she knew for a fact that he was somewhere else, then that is an alibi,
right?
And they could have presented that here, which they didn't do. They don't have it. Yeah. They don't have one. So we know for a fact the night of, or that time frame of these murders, he was alone. That's a fact.
Yep. It's crazy.
Unless he was in the house, then obviously he wasn't alone. But
yeah, and at this point,
he has no alibi.
You know, I'll bring that up, but at this point, I don't believe that, because I would have to think that, like that Bethany Funk would be bringing that up, that she would be mentioning something along the way of, you know, there's no fucking way that she wouldn't mention something if she has some kind of knowledge other than, you know, of Bryan Kohberger in another area and could be that alibi some way, shape, or form. It really don't make no fucking sense.
Yeah.
A lot of this don't make no fucking sense though. But yeah, let's look at this.
And I also really quick wanted to also discuss even though they, and I think it will happen, but even though they mentioned that they that the evidence of an alibi could come up through cross-examining witnesses or expert testimony, also does not mean that they're going to create an alibi through those avenues. They're basically just stating what avenues they still have open to create an alibi defense, but they don't have it now, and they're acting like it could happen in the future, which is, I don't know.
And what I said to you earlier, it seems weird. It seems like the defense is playing with the words and the laws to make it work for them right now. Like, but at the end of the day, once they get to the end of this road and there's nothing actually there in the shape of an alibi, we don't even know what the state fully has yet. It could be fucking damning at the end of the day. I don't know, but I also made the point to you earlier, if they do have a lot more footage and they have him lurking in other areas that you can actually say, like, hey, this is an angle where you could say this is Bryan Kohberger, that would be in discovery, right? I mean, they would already have that on the other side. So,
exactly.
I mean, so playing these games doesn't actually make sense from a legal standpoint from any of these professionals. Like, it seems like that's what's happening, but it really can't be, right? Like,
it does. It sometimes does feel like they're kind of the way they word these documents is to play with the public, the people like us who sit and read these things, right? It does feel like that a lot, and I can't say that for a fact that that's what they're doing, but it sometimes feels that way. And I mean, we'd have to have Bob or a lawyer on here to be like, is this normal? Like the way this is working? And
I love having Bob on for that exact reason. But Harvard lawyer Lee, to her point, to what we were saying earlier, to the point of her being fucking awesome, dude, she breaks that down. She made me understand this really well, honestly. Well enough to be able to feel confident about speaking to you about it right now. So,
exactly, yeah.
But yeah, let's look at this new document over here that's brand fucking new, hot off the presses. Motion to compel notice of defense of alibi or alternatively to bar certain evidence. Of course, comes now, state of Idaho.
And that's actually a very important piece to.
I can't see all that. Hold on. Go ahead.
That's a important piece to amend to our previous state or conversations there. Reading chat making me laugh. All right. So if the defense wanted to bring up witnesses that could create an alibi, well, they just fucked that up. It's all over. It's not possible now. They can't bring new witnesses that could corroborate an alibi because they missed their deadline.
Yeah, dude. Like, they're going to ask for some more time. They're going to be like, which they're already pissed because of the October deadline. And, I read the one where they're mentioning basically, you're infringing upon his constitutional rights. He has to have time. The defense has to have time to properly prepare for this. And I also do agree with that as well, honestly. But some of these motions still don't make sense. So let's see here. Comes now to the state of Idaho, and respectfully, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah. Let's see. Okay. And to provide the state with notice of an alibi that may be offered herein, said notice to include. And again, they're mentioning the same law we just looked at. Defense to comply within the full of Idaho Code 19-519. I can put that down in the description. I could link that right now, actually. For you guys, if you guys want to actually look at that, because it's actually really interesting to read that stuff. Boom, check that out. The specific place or places at which the defendant claims to have been at the time of the burglary and homicides in this case. Again, the state with notice of an alibi that may be offered where herein said notice to include. Number 2, the names and addresses of all witnesses upon whom the defendant intends to rely to establish an alibi. As the court files reflects, the state filed its request for discovery disclosure alibi demand on May 23rd and served the defense on the same day. The parties subsequently stipulated to extend the statutory time to the defendant to provide notice of alibi and comply with, again, Idaho state law. On July 24th, the defendant filed a notice, the one we just read. The response: this document does not comply with the requirements of Idaho code, and again, the state law, in that it does not specify a place or places at which the defendant claims to have been at the time of the offenses herein, nor does it provide names and addresses, literally what we were just saying.
Because he doesn't have anything.
He doesn't have anything. The state recognizes that the defendant has a Sixth Amendment constitutional right to call witnesses to his or her defense. Again, talking about a law here. Or precedent. However, as noted in both of these cited cases, the defendant's right to call witnesses in his or her defense is not unfettered, and the state has a legitimate interest in obtaining timely and complete discovery response from the defendant. As the Juarez court has observed, if requested by the state during discovery, a defendant intending to offer an alibi must file notice where the defendant claims that to have been at the time of an alleged offense in the names and addresses of the witnesses whose testimony will support the defendant's alibi. Another law, I believe, being called out here as evidence by the defendant's July 24, 2023 against the response. The defendant has failed to comply in any fashion with the requirements applicable by case law. It was important to note that the scheduled October 2nd, 2023 jury trial is barely more than 2 months away. If the defense intends to rely on an alibi, it is essential that they be required to provide prompt notice the state can fulfill. They're still just going back and forth here.
Why? It's already, the deadline's up.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any,
they're still,
hey, we need this.
Exactly. They're still letting them go. This is pretty wild, actually.
Well, this is the state. This is not the judge.
Yeah.
The judge isn't saying this. So this is a moot point. This makes no sense to me. Why are they saying? Or let's keep going. Maybe they
just enjoy bickering in these legal notices, I think. Regarding alibi constitutes an alibi, and as observed above, the state is unable to comply with Idaho, the criminals rule, isn't it? 12.1 in Idaho state code, again, the law that we just read, because based on the lack of information in this case, we don't know how this is an alibi at all. The state also notes, as the United States Supreme Court observed, citing another case, Taylor versus Illinois, the ease with which an alibi can be fabricated and the state's interest is in protecting itself against an 11th hour defense is both obvious and legitimate. The adversary system of trial is hardly an end in itself. It is not yet a poker game which players enjoy an absolute right always to conceal their cards until played.
Okay, real quick. So I've been confused up until this point. Now I think I may have thought it through. And we'll find out if I'm right through the lawyer folks that do videos on this. I think that because they replied. So I think if you don't have an alibi, you're supposed to just not file. But because they filed, they're basically saying this is our alibi, even though it's a non-alibi alibi.
Right.
And now the defense, or the state is responding to that as, no, this isn't an alibi. So why did you file this response when this is garbage?
I bet you're
this
right.
is basically so they're responding to the response as in, well, you didn't follow the rules. You didn't provide any sort of alibi based on Idaho Code 19519, which requires witnesses, addresses, a full disclosure of where you were, people who can corroborate where you were, so on and so forth. But that they provided a response at all means that now the state is responding back to that.
Yeah, I think you're right, dude. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Based on the above, the state respectfully praise the court.
They're basically calling them out on bullshit.
For an order compelling the defendant to comply in the law by filing a notice specifying where the defendant claims to have been at the time of the alleged offenses and the names and addresses of the witnesses whose testimony will support the defendant's alibi. Given the time constraints, the state prays that the court direct the defendant to comply no later than 10 days from the date the court's order, and again giving them more time.
This is part of the law because it's 10 days from the court order. They're not giving them more time though. This is
they were mentioning that. Okay,
they're basically quoting the law. Yeah,
and it's ridiculous though. It really is. It's kind of crazy. This is going back and forth.
Sorry, yeah, keep going because keep going. Yeah,
I'll start here. Given the time constraints, the state prays that the court direct the defendant to comply no later than 10 days from the date of the court's order, and that the state be allowed pursuant Again, same law to provide the defense written notice of names and addresses of witnesses who the state intends to rely on to establish the defendant's presence at the scene of the offenses, and only other witnesses to be relied on to rebut testimony of any of the defendant's alibi witnesses no less than 10 days before trial.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's basically
Praying
it.
again.
They're using the word pray.
Actually, read that last paragraph.
They've never done that before, using the word pray.
Alternatively,
the state prays for an order of this court pursuant to Idaho Code 19519, prohibiting the defendant from presenting any evidence, whether by direct or cross-examination, in support of any claimed alibi other than from the defendant himself.
okay, so they're saying that the court should not allow an alibi defense via cross-examination of witnesses.
Yeah, okay, wow. That's interesting. Yeah, it's endless bickering and fighting between these two parties right here.
Yep.
But literally between the only two parties. Caroline, going to come through and becoming a member. Give her the beers in chat, everybody. Oh, let's see them beers popping out there.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Get a satisfying pour as well. My Lord, membered up. Anybody that is a member, new here, we have a lot of new members. You guys get a members-only stream once a month, so keep an eye out for that. Yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
Oh, shout out! My wife is in chat tonight. She finally signed up for you or made a YouTube account.
Oh shit! What's her name in there?
I don't see her in the participants list. Belle, Bhel is how
Belle, say something in the chat. Belle, say something in the chat.
I did see her pop in earlier, but show her some love, guys.
Say it.
Hopefully she's still in there.
She done dipped out. She done got the hell out of here. She's like, I've had enough of this. Enough of this shit. Yeah, and then the other thing we were going to go into today is a video that T-Rev did. He interviewed Brent Kopacka's best friend, Darin Dunkin, and they broke out a clip that I thought it's pretty interesting, actually.
It is pretty interesting, yeah.
The couple of things that he says in here, and we were kind of going back and forth earlier on it, some of this doesn't make sense, and he even admits in this video that it doesn't make sense, some of the stuff we're about to hear.
Yeah.
Just mentioning it straight out, basically saying that after the cops, after everything was said and done, and they went through and cleared out his apartment, there was Brent Kopacka's cell phone was left on the counter, factory reset. Completely factory reset. That's fucking weird.
Oh, real quick, I do want to preface this. Like, yes, we're doing this on an Idaho 4 show, but there's no evidence supporting that Brent Kopacka was involved in the Idaho case. The two things have been intertwined ever since the Brent Kopacka incident happened. Speculation from the public, even as far as the Darin, the best friend, being on ABC, getting upset about online sleuths, making accusations and speculating about his involvement. The drip drop stuff, which went absolutely out of control in my opinion.
Yeah.
I just want to say there's no, we're not trying to elude any sort of connection to Idaho.
No. It's really just interesting, some of the things he says. Really, the phone thing I just said, and Darin saying that he was. Now, this part is insane to me. It sounds crazy that a female police officer contacted him.
That's the crazy one to me.
The night that this was happening.
I can explain away the phone factory reset as it's literally the meme, delete my history, bro.
Right.
He deleted his own history.
Right.
Factory reset his phone so nobody could figure out, find anything that he may not want people to find on his phone. Whether nefarious or not, it's just private information,
right?
That he doesn't want people to know about.
But yeah,
the fact that they called the best friend, they didn't call the parents.
They're
or
saying
whatever.
They're saying that they called Darin Dunkin the night this is going down. His phone was ringing off the hook. He works at this place. He works from 6 p.m. to 6. We're going to listen to this, but 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So he's working literally all through the night. His phone is going crazy. Midnight, he says, somebody must need something. He answers it. It's this police officer basically saying, are you friends with Brent Kopacka? Asking questions like, does he have a gun? Is he violent? And this is actively while, the standoff is happening. The next day, he tries to get in touch with this person. He cannot via text or calling them back either. He says that he is not friends with, he's close with Brent Kopacka, but not necessarily with his family. But he does end up finding, I believe, the mother or the stepmother, I forget exactly, reaches out to them and asks what's going on. And they inform him that Brent Kopacka is dead. He's been killed by the police. Literally the evening that this police officer was contacting him. She finds out that they were trying to, through Darin, was trying to contact him. They get pissed. That part makes no sense to me. That seems insane. But I will say this, everything that Darin Dunkin is saying in this video comes across believable. I mean, he really does come across as a very believable individual.
And he creates a reasonable explanation for why they called him. Is maybe Brent was saying call Darin. Maybe he was telling the cops to call Darin.
Right.
Because Darin's who he wanted to help, bring him down from whatever ledge he was on,
That's the only thing that sort of made sense. If he was, and how he mentions in this earlier, because we're not going to watch the entire thing, but he mentions in this at one point, the police were trying to get a phone to Brent Kopacka to communicate, and he wouldn't take it. So at one point when they get closer, is he hollering out the windows? Is he hollering outdoors? Maybe I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to Darin. I want to talk to, maybe this is the only person he truly trusts. That does happen. And if he does have PTSD, and he seems like he probably did, this seems like a very sad situation, quite frankly.
And Darin strongly believes that if he were there that night, he could have stopped the whole thing.
And he
could have shut it down.
He also is under the impression that the police fucked up this night. It's interesting. It's an interesting watch. Let's watch a couple of things here. The first clip I have is the cell phone part, but then at the end he starts telling the story about the call, and we'll get to that as well. So let me first of all make sure the audio is working. And again, in the description down below, you can watch the original video from T-Rev's channel. Go give T-Rev a follow. Props to T-Rev for getting this interview 100%. And that the completion of it is down in the description below. But I thought this was fucking interesting.
He grabbed a gun and waved it around the living room, was going to shoot everybody. That's not what I think happened. I think that him and his roommates did not like each other. They were probably looking for a reason to get him out. And the fact that they got into a big fight, he might have said, I'll kill you or something. They called
Hold on. Did I call this one out? Danielle just had her 3-month Buzzed and Confused membership level anniversary. Did she become a member for 3 months?
I think she's been a member for 3 months.
Okay, gotcha. I think it's the anniversary. I need to get an anniversary soundbite.
I don't know why it pops up as new member. But...
I know. But thank you so much for being here for 3 months, because that's absolutely unbelievable and amazing, Danielle. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
the cops, and they're like, cool, this is a way to get them out. I don't know if they were on campus or close to campus or whatever, but being in a situation like that with a gun involved, especially in this country, they're going to take it extremely serious. So the cops show up. I also think due to proximity and distance.
No, we're not accusing Brent at all. We actually just went into deep detail while we're not accusing Brent, Gil.
Exactly, yeah.
Distance and in time, I think that
well,
since
she may
the
have popped in
murders
after.
happened,
You might have.
about 20 miles
Welcome,
away,
Gail.
about a month before, I think that the cops, in their mind...
Oh,
may
okay,
have
she's
been
cool.
like,
She's cool. I just saw that. Yeah, we're not blaming Brent Kopacka in any way, shape, or form here.
what if this is that kid that killed those people? Like, what if it's that guy? And so they go in full defense mode. They talked, well, actually, there was quite a bit of a lack of communication. From what I was told, they did try to give him a phone to speak with them, like a negotiator or whatever. He would not talk to them. And after 7 or 8 hours, they decided to shoot him. And I think that after the fact, I think the cops fucked up that. I think they dropped the ball and it completely landed on mine and the family's foot. I think that after they killed him, they were like, oh, this wasn't who we thought it was. It was just a kid with PTSD. We f***ed up. His room was empty when the family went in. His room was empty, and his cell phone was on the kitchen counter, and it was factory reset. I think that the cops were, I think they made
So, I mean, to Dan's point, that is the one thing that kind of makes sense there that, I mean, you know, either he was going to, the sad part about PTSD is a lot of these people do end up offing themselves, and whether he was going to off himself or off himself by cop. That is a thing that totally happens. You know, again, trigger warning, but that is a sad part of reality. So if he, in his head, and again, not putting that out there, it's just I'm alleging and just kind of thinking out loud here, that would make sense for a factory reset. You know, if you already kind of know this is fucking it. And again, RIP to Brent Kopacka. No ill will towards him or his family whatsoever. But
I mean, I don't. So and I've seen other creators talk about the Brent Kopacka stuff and speculate, but it's never been like so hardcore. There is, and I'm not even going to say the name again, but there's been recent videos involving that and Darin himself that have kind of been a little out of control.
Yeah, he's
too much.
Darin went deep. He was very mad and very pissed about a lot of the stuff that was going on again on some of the other videos that were being made. And they really were kind of going out on a limb, more of a limb than I've ever went out on, even on my conspiracy videos.
Yeah, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the more recent, after the ABC stuff, the more recent videos that came out.
Oh, no, me too.
Those were a little too much, in my opinion, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, too, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
the ones we covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, man.
Like, I can understand, like, trying to make a connection and having speculation there. But, I mean, you can only take it so far. You can't, especially when we're talking about a man who can't defend himself. And, you know, like, you can speculate. I get it. And I understand that, and that's fine. But, yeah, you can only take it so far.
You can get a little wild with it.
You can go too far. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then, okay, that's really what I wanted to hear there. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper because I think he gets into the next part a little bit deeper here. Let's see if I can find it.
Important. So I answered, and it was a woman.
Oh, no,
and
back up just a little bit. Here we go.
The police like
this. I was actually contacted by the police the night that he was
Those arrow
killed.
keys. Those arrow
Did you know
keys.
that?
No, I didn't.
So I was at work, and I worked at General Mills.
The
at
best
the time,
tip I've
and I
ever
worked
done.
From 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. That was my schedule.
The best
and it was
tip I've ever
around
given.
midnight that my phone kept
Just the tips, baby. Just the tips.
ringing about 4, 5, 6 times in a row, and I kept sending it to voicemail because I'm like, who the is this? I'm at work. Around midnight, they called me, and I finally answered because I figured whoever the hell is calling me, it must be important. So I answered, and it was a woman, and she basically asked me, do I know Brent Kopacka? And I said, yeah, why? What's going on? And she said, she did not use the word barricade, by the way. She said, he's in his bedroom and he won't come out. He got into an argument with his roommates. He's in his bedroom and he won't come out. And she did let me know that she was a police officer. I don't know if she used the word detective or whatever. I said, like, is he okay? And she said, yeah, he's fine, but he won't come out of his room. Then she asked me if he was in the Army. I said, yeah, a long time ago. She asked if he owned a gun, and I said, this is America. Pretty much all of us have guns. I'm pretty sure he has a gun, yeah, for protection. And then she asked if he was violent or if he would hurt anybody, and I said, no. And in fact, like, Brent was not a tough guy. He wasn't a meathead. He wasn't the type of dude that would get in fights. He wasn't a jerk off like that. And I told this lady, I'm like, there's no way he's not out there like to hurt anybody. If he does own a gun, it's simply for protection, and he's not gonna hurt anybody. Like, why? What's going on? And then she just said he wouldn't come out of his room. And then she asked me, she's like, if this develops, if I have any more questions for you, can I call you back? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Never got a phone call back. I got off. I immediately texted Brent. I'm like, what's going on? Are you okay? Absolutely nothing. Didn't hear anything back. The next morning when I got off work, I was calling him, texting him, getting nothing. I was texting that phone number that called me, the police officer. She would not respond to me. She wouldn't answer my phone calls. So eventually I reached out to an ex-girlfriend of Brent's on Facebook, and I said, because I was not friends with any of his family members at the time on Facebook. Me and Brent were very, very close. I did not know his family that well. They're scattered out amongst the country. There's some in Illinois, some out west in Washington. I didn't really speak to them. I haven't spoke to his mom and dad since I was a teenager, when they would drop him off and pick him up from my house to spend the night on the weekends, you know? So I'm not Facebook friends with any. But I asked his ex-girlfriend if she was, and she said, yeah, this is his stepmom. I contacted her and I said, what's going on with Brent? The cops called me last night. And she's like, Brent's dead. The cops killed him. I called her like on the Facebook Messenger thing, and she basically told me that there was like a standoff and they shot him and killed him. And she was pretty upset. She was pissed off kind of that they called me. She's like, I don't know why the hell they called you. Like, we're his parents. Why didn't they call us? And I don't know why they called me either. I don't even know how they got
your number.
Well, this is the thing, is like, I don't know how. It makes me wonder. This is why I wish I was there, dude, because in my opinion, I think he might have been yelling through the door or out the window or whatever, call Darin, I want to talk to Darin. Because how would they have gotten my number? Like, if they did a background check on him or whatever, or like ran his phone number or whatever, I don't know how they would get any of this information. I'm not a cop.
Yeah, that is the other thing. If they are hollering out the door, even if he's hollering, call Darin, whatever you want to, think about there. Like, they didn't have to figure out who the fuck this is. You would think they would still call the parents first. Who's Darin? We got to get through to him.
True.
How do they get
And
this motherfucker's info and say we got to get a hold of Darin right now?
It's super odd.
It's so odd.
Even if we like that's super odd. But even if we skip that, like trying to answer that question, and we go straight to, well, the cop called him. They found his number somehow and they called him. Why did the phone never get passed to Brent? If and that's the only way I can understand. I can think of which is his explanation is Brent must have been asking. The only person I'll talk to is Darin, right? So then they call Darin, and they let Darin know that there's a situation, and they didn't even say that he's only going to talk to you, right? They didn't even let him in on that part of it. Why was the phone never passed to Brent to talk to Darin?
Because that would be the whole point. That'd be if we're gonna go out of our way, which already seems strange, to reach out to this person who's not even in the same state, who's not even close.
And it literally sounds like they only. It literally sounds like they only. Sorry, I'm looking at something. It sounds like they only called Darin simply to find out if he had weapons.
Right. Now that's a good question. No. That might be how they preference it, right? They just want to does he have weapons? Okay, bye. Maybe you have to fill it out a little bit more, but still, that is still odd.
How did they get Darin's information?
That's still, yeah. I mean,
it's all weird.
And it's not even, again, we can go back. I think they end this with him basically saying he thinks it's weird too.
So if you have any cops as your
Hold
audience,
on.
I don't know how they would get any of this information. I'm not a cop. So if you have any cops as your audience, please help me out with this.
He goes by T-Rev.
It actually is crazy. So, and again, everything I've seen from Darin Dunkin has felt real. I mean, I have no reason to doubt him, but this story's wild as fuck, dude. As soon as Dan saw this and was like, man, we have to do a story on this. And also, of course, the Alibi stuff was coming out, but I was like, yeah, this is crazy. This actually is pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, I thought it was worth talking about because it was. Yeah, I found it very interesting, and I mean, we had reason to talk about the Idaho stuff anyway, and like I said earlier, these two things are very intertwined. So
that's the sad part about it. The Brent Kopacka story has become intertwined with Bryan Kohberger because of a lot of shittiness online, quite frankly.
Well, and I mean, I can forgive some things because it's the same town. It happened almost immediately after, right? So there's people are going to draw connections.
I made an early video about the situation too because it was weird as fuck. 100%. It is fair. Now, when you start digging into his life after the fact and getting a little bit crazier, but you know what? I was about to say
insane connections.
Not even just digging into his life, but also putting out false information, like provably false information that maybe you didn't do the due diligence on of checking further. I mean, that's fucked up. That's just shitty. There's no else way to say it.
And it literally creates more stories. It creates more speculation.
That's what's happening, right?
And then immediately going after this guy is insane to me. That part was that's super rough.
That was crazy.
That's not
without mentioning names, he did actually kind of go a little bit too crazy. And what I thought was awesome was that Darin called his fucking bluff.
And I'm
not even against it.
I wouldn't.
He got so fucking pissed off and called his bluff, and I don't know if he has. Again, we're not naming a lot of names here, but if he has stopped talking about said person, it'd probably be smart because Darin was like, listen. I don't know. It's a fucked up story. It's a crazy story. And again, this, I think deserves some discussion because if what he's saying is fucking 100% factual and true, which I have no reason to really believe it isn't, what the fuck? And it's in the same fucking area. It kind of goes right into all these other stories. There's tons of these stories now. Endless amounts of stories surrounding this Idaho Bryan Kohberger stuff. WSU, this whole little area in this vicinity. It kind of piles right into there. An Erie, Indiana, Twilight Zone type situation, if you ask me. It's fucking weird. A lot of weird shit goes on.
I do wonder why, Darin would be willing to go on a show like this and talk about it. Is it just to help clear the name? Do you think?
No, one more time. I'm sorry.
Why would he go on a show like this?
That's what I'm thinking.
You think it's just to help clear the name?
I think he's addicted to that now, right? He was on national television doing it. He's been on numerous podcasts.
I saw his setup, and I was like, "What is it? Why does he have the mic and all that?" And I looked him up, and he does have a podcast.
Okay.
It's about horror movie stuff, obviously. I mean, that's obviously
Hey,
his passion.
shout out right now. If anybody wants to call out some fucking horror movie shit, right there behind him directly is the Toxic Avenger. And really, in my studio right now, there is a giant fucking wall. It's not a poster. It's basically a blanket that I've put up, actually, because I think it's so dope. I put it hung on the wall. Pretty much that exact picture. Like,
Yes,
it's the VHS. Yeah, the VHS cover from '84, man. So I love fucking horror movies, and I love the Toxic Avenger as well. Toxic Avenger is my favorite horror movie, period. I'm a giant Trauma fan. But yeah, like, it's craziness. Hold on. I want to pop this back up here. So, Dan, did you see this? I got a news station to delete a tweet today.
What?
Yeah, so, and not only that, it's by Ruth. It's by the lady Ruth that they met, right? So the Daily Mail. So she wrote an article, and I think she does just write this, I'm guessing. I don't really know, but whoever was there, they're there. So the family is back at the house. And they're there taking pictures as they're in video. Oh my God, it's horrible. And they're crying and freaking out. And I've made I thought
they're not allowed to fucking do it anymore.
Right?
$150 fine or whatever it was, right?
That's what I thought too.
So they're not enforcing that.
Not at all. It doesn't seem. And this is awesome though, because the tweet has been deleted. And I mean, Jay said it. Everyone's saying that they think it's because of my tweet. Because I saw this. And I
love how blunt.
I went a little crazy. Hey, please follow me on Twitter. Hey, you human pieces of shit in media. Leave these people alone. Fuck this. And that is now gone. It's starting to get a little traction.
Damn.
Yeah, Carrie Rawson also got involved on that as well. She gets a little bit of movement there on Twitter, and I think they got a little freaked out. So, yeah, don't fuck with us here at J Buzz Nation. Don't fuck with us.
Making the world a better fucking place.
Right here. Yeah, this is what they deleted.
I can't believe they're back already.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
Look at this. Steve off the top rope, baby.
I don't know how I missed this.
Yeah, it was before I got off work. Well, it was 1:55. Wow. Never mind. I have no clue what time it is. That was my lunch. My lunch, I'll tell them to fuck off. I was proud of that one, Kalen.
That is insane, actually.
Dude,
holy shit.
It's fucked up, man. Like,
and having people like fucking Carrie on our side, like she's a part of this fucking community now. I mean, she's about to go live with Jay in fucking 8 minutes.
Yes,
like,
you're gonna be going into a portal to their stream.
Having that shit, like having all this fucking community is so dope, dude. We may actually get shit done. We may actually fucking do stuff, right?
Yeah,
like,
dude.
J Buzz Nation, motherfuckers.
Hey,
learn it, know it, repeat it.
As soon as this happened, me and Jay were talking. I was like, dude, I love what's happening right now so fucking much because it's so positive. Like, it's really going in the right direction, it seems like. Because there's a lot of fuck faces out here, man. That was pretty crazy. That was pretty cool.
Oh, man, I hate that they're already back there, though. That's gonna suck for them. They're going to have a hard time.
Hey, I'm going to throw out one of these just because, baby. Halle Berry. I see you hanging out in the chat there, girl. What are you doing? What are you doing out there? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, please hit that like. Help us out here tonight. Again, in about 7 minutes, you're going to be going through a portal. And when you enter that portal... I've got a video also. I've got a special video. Actually, I posted it on Twitter. I was pretty proud of it, so I wanted to post it on Twitter. But as soon as this is over, I did. I couldn't wait. I was like, do I wait? No. What if they just leave? I want them to see it. So as soon as this is over, you're going to see a video of a portal, and then the sweet new J Buzz Nation logo, and then you're actually going to be sucked into that portal, and you're going to end up right there working.
Everybody. Go through the portal. If you follow us and you're not familiar with Jay, or you've never watched Jay, you don't know who he is, follow the portal. You're gonna love it. Jay is part of the family. He's this family. He's the dad of the family.
Yeah, he's the father. He is our father. Yeah, Jay's the man, dude. If y'all are not familiar, and I'm sure a lot of you are. Yeah, if any buzzheads, let's just call them that, are still thinking about, or haven't went over or made the cross, do it. Because J Buzz Nation, J Bo Nation, Jay and Shannon, the whole crew over there is amazing. What they done this week in the List case, in the Long Island serial killer case, has been amazing. It's been extraordinary.
Boots on the ground.
I will say this, as soon as their stream ends, make sure you hang out, because you'll probably be hitting another portal and heading back over here we're not done, baby. 10 p.m.
Tonight.
Eastern time. We're going to have Jay and Shannon on this channel. We're also going to be having Eva from the Nerdy Attic channel. Nerdy Attic, I don't think is going to make it. He is traveling currently. He's been on the road for about a week now. Jesus Christ. He was in South Carolina. Then he met Jay and them the day that they were hanging out there right by the house in Long Island. So I don't think he's going to be able to make it, unfortunately, but Eva is going to be hanging out with us. We just got to get her set up. Hopefully it won't be too hard. I told her to meet us a little bit early, and I sent her the link to the setup. Our setup here is always a little bit more confusing.
Yeah, we get to show someone else how convoluted it is
than anyone else's. Yeah, so, but it won't be hard. It's not that intimidating. After you figure it out. So.
And only Dan is always here to give the tips.
Yeah, so. That's it. So Dan will be hanging out. He'll make sure that we get going. What's going on here in the chat? Laura coming through. Steve, your J Buzz Nation logo rocks. Thank you so much, Laura. Appreciate that.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
I'm gonna give you one of these two. Hold on.
I'm sober enough to know what I'm doing, and I'm drunk enough to really enjoy doing it.
R.I.P. Jim Leahy.
Yeah. I just want real quick, Antron. I saw immediately as soon as I saw you got timed out, I was like, hang on. There's no way Antron got timed out on purpose, so I went and looked at the messages. I was like, yeah, that had to be an accident.
Did he get accidentally timed out?
He did, yeah.
Keystone came here from Jay's channel. Hell yeah. See, the crossover. The crossover is amazing here, folks. Absolutely unbelievable. Kaylin always comes out of the portal with different clothes on. I've heard a lot of messed up stuff about the portal, actually. I've heard people losing limbs. I'm not trying to say that to freak you guys out, but...
you might have a finger coming out of your ear.
You know, now here's the thing. If you guys find any limbs along the way, pick those up. We should be able to get those back to the original owners.
We'll figure it out, get people put back together.
Should not be a problem.
I'm telling you,
hopefully everybody comes through in one piece, but it's not guaranteed. It's a dangerous trip.
Not guaranteed.
You do sign a waiver just by being here. You automatically agree.
Yeah, that's exactly. Digitally, you signed a waiver as soon as you entered this chat.
Yep.
And I
agreed.
don't know if you realized that, but you did.
Yeah.
Now, tomorrow night, we're going to be doing Feral Friday. We're going to be having a very interesting episode. Some more guests are going to be coming through tomorrow night. We're going to be having Daniel from Drunk Turkey Show. We're going to be having Dago come over from the cafe, coming over to hang out.
Talking some aliens.
And we're going to be going over some UFO stuff. This week, there was a UFO hearing that was crazy. I'd live tweeted the entire thing. It's pretty wild that the ball is rolling at this level with any kind of talk like this. Quite frankly, it's nuts. And there's a lot of higher up, smart individuals that think there is some stuff going on that we are not privy to. So yeah, tomorrow night, make sure you come and hang out with some other channels. Again, Drunk Turkey Show. Make sure you're giving them a follow. And Dago, man, all those guys are streaming all the time, putting in the work as well. And, of course, Drunk Turkey has always been super amazing to us here over at Publicly Buzzed.
Yep.
So Feral Friday is, going to be a little wild tomorrow night. I'd like to get a little aliens. And for the next week, I'm still working on Jay and Bob. I want to get Jay and Bob on together. Bob couldn't do it this week. I actually tried to get that one for this Friday, but he's got a little bit of a vacation thing going on with his family. Can't get Jay. And also, I realized that we have we're a late night show, right? This is a late night show. We start late almost all, except for right now, but and Sunday mornings for Murder Church, but usually it's a late night show, so...
The fact that we get anyone is amazing.
Yeah, we are so happy when people come in and hang out with us, and it's amazing. Right now, I'm literally just killing time, folks. I'm burning it.
Might be about portal time. At least they can go chill out for a couple minutes before.
All right, yeah, let's do it. Before you guys head out, please hit the like. Let everyone again know what you're hanging out at Publicly Buzzed. We'll see you back here at 10 o'clock, and I will see you in the chat over on Jay's channel. We're going to hit you in the portal right now, ladies and gentlemen, and be careful.
Travels.
Love you guys.